Welcome to the Powerhouse Affiliate Show. Today, I'm excited to bring on some guests where we're going to be talking about the 7 deadly sins of Facebook ads, especially for media buyers. These are some common mistakes people make that can lose them millions of dollars. We're going to be talking about lead generation. We're going to be talking about some golden nuggets that you can find as you start to plan out your next campaigns on Facebook ads. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Okay, welcome to the podcast. This is something a little different. If you like these types of videos where I bring in guests and we talk about topics like Facebook ads or anything else in the media buying space, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tell me down in the comments what you'd like to see next. We do have some timestamps down below in the description, so check those out if you want to skip ahead to certain topics. I'm going to introduce a couple of guests here. We have Chris Kennedy from Astrofuse, and we also have Jerry Moody. He is also known as Money Stacks. He's been on this channel before, and these guys have been managing a lead generation company for many years, and they've also got tons of experience in their own media buys as well. They've also managed other partners who are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on Facebook ads. So today we thought we'd have a great discussion around the 7 deadly sins. So without wasting any more time, guys, thanks for joining me. Please introduce yourselves and let's get started.
So I'm Chris Kennedy, CEO of Astrofuse. My role in the past in the performance marketing industry has been purely from a technical perspective. So I really know the ins and outs of these tracking platforms. I know the ins and outs of building funnels. I know the ins and outs of making sure data gets back to these ad platforms to optimize spend. These are deadly sins that we've seen along the way. These are the things that keep me up at night. These are the problems I've helped media buyers and other marketers solve these issues. I've worked with big brands like Nike, Google. I've seen it all. So these are just the top things that I would say would have helped us with internal media buying. And every time we start a new traffic source, these are the things that we're thinking about and trying to get right before we go live.
Yeah, and I just help with the implementation of what this guy does, right? So he makes all the magic happen, and I help negotiate, the buys and sells. So that in alongside with the pixel post back placements and all the tech stuff that goes along in the background, I obviously assist with tracking and finding the best prices on our offers. I would say it's amazing to me how common a lot of these issues are and how much money they could save people if they implement these simple strategies. A lot of this stuff is overlooked as media buyers get blindsided by maybe the bright shiny object and not all of the little things that go along with it. So I'm glad that Chris was able to join me on this podcast today to kind of share his experiences and what we've been through in our journey. So I'll let him take away.
Yeah, let's start with the first thing, and that's having the right tracking platform. So we recently just started a campaign. We thought we'd get by with just Everflow and maybe some Looker Studio reports. Unfortunately, that was a huge mistake. It didn't really allow us to see where our money was being spent and then where we were also making money. It's critical to know like what campaign's working the best, where your dollars are being spent, so you can cut off the tests that don't work and then spend more on the campaigns that do work. And we chose RedTrack as our top solution. This was a decision made just purely out of bias. That is because media buyers that we work with, that is their go-to tool. So I supported the decision because I didn't want to have to wrestle with a new tool and force training on them. But there are some other common tools out there. And Joey, you probably know a lot more than I do about which tracking platforms affiliates and media buyers use. But the ones that I know of.
RedTrack is definitely very popular among our community. And I'm also using CPV Lab Pro. I think they have very similar features in terms of being able to track conversions back to Facebook. And that's an extremely important feature to have, that API integration. And because maybe some people aren't aware of what we're talking about today, we're talking about lead generation specifically and offers that, pay you per lead. So if you're working with a network and you're not tracking your own landing pages and your own, funnels and ads, then obviously you're losing out on data. And I think that's what you're touching upon here. And so like RedTrack, CPV Lab Pro, some people use Volume. There's other ones out there. They all should have the ability to send conversion data back to Facebook.
And the nice thing about these tools is they are plug and play. They're ready to go. There's tons of documentation to help you get started. They just work. Like rather than wrestle with it and build it yourself, if you just need an off-the-shelf solution, these are definitely go-to tools. They follow all the best practices. That really helps optimize spend, and then it also helps with accuracy. So making sure everything that is coming into the funnel, you're able to track page views, you're able to track conversions, you're able to get the right revenue back to the ad platform. And that really puts the algorithm and the machine learning to work. Without it, you're going to spend blindly, and it would be like rolling the dice in Vegas. So at least this is more of a calculated risk. Make sure you have the right tracking platform in position to help you track your financials.
Okay. What's next?
Yeah, so the next thing I would say is it's the natural segue from having the right tracking platform is, and we'll focus on Meta or Facebook, whatever you want to call it. The conversions API, it became popular when iOS released their privacy protection, where you couldn't track everything through the Facebook ads like you used to be able to. Mass panic when that release came out. Of course, Android has its own version of it, its own flair, and privacy is only locking down even more. So you have to track this stuff through APIs, and Facebook has a conversions API. And with the right tracking platform and the right report or the right events getting back to the tracking platform, you're able to optimize your click-through rates, like the right audience, the right people that are going to convert, even getting down to like the value per customer, like what is the lifetime value of a customer, feeding all that data into the API, the conversions API. You're able to do that server to server. And in a sense, it can circumvent some of these privacy issues that you see with iOS. So I would say having the right tracking platform and reporting data back to the APIs is critical. It really helps fill in the gaps that these ad platforms can't do without it.
So aside from just the conversion and the amount, what other data are you sending to Facebook to help you with your campaigns?
Yeah, so the one experiment we're doing right now is we're looking at sending page view data with to conversions API versus relying on the pixel in the browser. The other thing that we've had to figure out and navigate is there's a lot more privacy tools out there that will block these pixels. So if you're relying on a browser tag, there are things that will like set up a black hole where you can't, like we have compliance pixels that we have to have on our pages, and people will block those compliance tools. We can't sell those leads. So being able to do all of this server side and to avoid these ad blockers, it really does save you in some cases where if they're valid customers, but if they are concerned about their privacy, they're going to block a lot of things that they don't like you tracking. So I would say really leaning into the conversions API for page view data, paid events.
Yeah. On that note, when you say the compliance stuff, is that still like, because you're talking about internal media buying as a lead buyer or a lead seller for affiliates? Are we still seeing those compliance issues if we're running our own landing pages, and is something that we need to?
No. It's definitely on the advertiser side, on our like on the actual form that a customer would be filling out. And that's not necessarily related to ad performance, but they do have the same challenges. If somebody is really concerned about their privacy, they're going to block the Facebook tags, the Google Ads tags, even and the compliance stuff that go with it.
And this is actually a good segue, for media buyers to understand that, like on the lead buyer side, with leads that are being sold on our end, like the reality is not every single lead that's generated on a form sells, right? So if there's an issue like this, it doesn't sell. If the customer has the wrong qualifiers, say it's a solar lead and they have too much shade, that lead might not sell. Say it's in a bad area, that lead might not sell. These are all things that you have to think of when you configure that pixel, because a lot of our media buyers even consider firing events that don't sell. And we've had issues in the past with our platform, not necessarily knowing what to do with those because they're not monetary and you don't want Facebook retargeting them. But there's so many details that go along with a sold lead that a lot of people might not consider.
Yeah. And one of the strategies I've used in the past is to only fire on good leads that are high payout. And that's another thing that you could potentially test, is just firing on, the ones that pay you whatever, over $30 or $20, whatever it is. Is that something you see people do?
$1 million.
1 million,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So that, and this could be a natural segue into the next topic, but targeting
Okay.
is definitely
Let's segue.
yeah, the targeting is definitely huge. And one of the things that we could use for targeting, and we do use for targeting, is price per lead. So our buyers know, they have a pretty good idea how much a lead is worth. A lot of times it's strictly based on like where they're located and how they fill out the survey. They'll still buy the leads because there's still potential, but we really don't want to target like these fringe areas or target potential consumers that may not back out in the end. Sometimes I think it's just a bidding strategy, but other times our buyers know where the hot pockets are for getting customers. So targeting is key. It's king in buying media for us. We really need to understand where our buyers are buying and what they're buying for. And we come up with zip lists all the time and state lists where we look at the max payouts, the average payouts, and we optimize that way. And in some cases, our custom audiences, our lookalike audiences are purely based on the price per lead to help us find those consumers that are online. And we mostly do this with Facebook and Meta, but I believe we have helped one affiliate do a version of this on Google Ads, but it's typically, in our world, it's typically done on Meta.
Right.
Well,
So that's,
and
go ahead.
I would say a lot of the disconnect between targeting and finding the right audience is understanding your platform, where they deliver traffic, kind of the demographics of the traffic that you're receiving, and finding the right audience size. And all those things play into our CPMs overall on our campaigns. And if you're not conscientious of that, you might go from a perspective of someone who's bought media for a company in a small demographic, and having the opportunity to send to, for example, 18,000 zip codes on our solar offer, 23,000 zip codes on roofing and windows. Like that all plays into the grand overall strategy of finding a good cost per lead through the amount of people that you can serve an ad to. One of our guys just the other day that we work with really closely was talking about finding the magic spot of a $12.50 ad, and he could finally be profitable to the extent that he could scale, because he knew that his value per lead that he was going to receive was in like the $20 range. Well, you can make your ROI, you can spend more if you can drill that CPM down. If you're working on a purely like the pay per model or the pay per month model that a lot of these companies that are smaller might use, just to keep people on like a consignment, you're not ever going to understand kind of the broader network. It's always a population battle with a lot of these traffic sources.
And also, pay attention to the country that the offer is based. Jerry and I have dealt with a few incidents where the targeting was international and it should have been US only. And then that's less common these days, but more common is probably knowing really like what states are the buyers or what state is the advertiser focused on. And the worst that we hear is like, yeah, just go broad, go all US. And we know without a doubt that can't be true. There are typically hot areas that you really need to optimize for. And sometimes you might just have to throw money at it to figure it out. But ideally, you have an advertiser or a buyer that will help you optimize to really pinpoint where your ad should be targeted.
And
Okay.
funny story, just to kind of back this up. Georgia is a state and also a country. So like don't target
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
country
I do.
Georgia when you're aiming for
I
the
do remember that
Yeah.
specific ad.
I think I've
Jerry.
done that too.
I think when we think about geo-targeting, also thinking about your custom audiences, and I think most people get hung up on lookalike audiences and something else that was brought to our attention, which I wish I would have thought about this sooner, is doing like a reverse. I think he called it a reverse audience file. So it's like being able to say, well, we've already sold to these people or they've already signed up on our forums. We don't want to bring people to our funnel on this list, but we want people like it, right? So being able to dedupe on the ad side is it's showing promise on our side. We deal with a lot of duplicate leads, and I suspect some of this is because some affiliates that work with us and some media buyers, they just don't have the insight. They don't have access to the kind of data to build these lists. But the more that we share with a media buyer on the actual customer list, it really helps with figuring out, like, we really need new customers to come to the funnel, not ones that have already converted. Like, we've had some consumers that come days apart, and it's because they're seeing the same or similar ads. And the only way to dedupe is to start sharing this out in the audience.
So are you sharing it through the Facebook Meta platform to business account, basically, like the customer list, and saying, here's a customer list, create yourself a similar audience, but also block people on that list kind of deal?
Yeah, we do keep that pretty close to the chest, but we do share it out when the campaigns.
I guess it wouldn't be for everybody. I mean, you probably want some people that come in and show some promise at first before you start just blasting out to every guy that signs up.
Yeah, usually we provide it to the tried and true guys that have a history with us. But it is kind of a paradigm shift if you think about it. In a lot of ways that, if you're generating a lead, you don't necessarily want to follow the traditional media sense of touching that client 20,000 times to make a sale. You really only need to touch them once. And as soon as they convert on your funnel, I mean, that's really the only use of that customer at that point.
For lead gen, for the most part, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how that might be different for like e-commerce, right? Like e-commerce,
exactly.
You want to bring them back in and get them spending more money, but with lead gen, it's different. Especially with like solar. Solar, it's once you've done it, unless you move, sell your house, or you really hate the solar panels you currently have, you probably aren't going to buy solar again for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. And most of our clients, if they've purchased a lead, they're not going to purchase it again, right? So like, you don't want to hit that customer multiple times. Otherwise, you as a media buyer are wasting your money on that lead. So, the sooner you start excluding those people that have already converted, the better.
So another rabbit hole that we went down would just be identifying the meaningful metrics. So we watch CPCs and EPCs like a hawk. That's like what Jerry talks about every single day. I usually wake up to a message from him about how our EPCs are looking. Well, until we started really like getting access to the internal campaigns and really started to watch our own spend, I didn't realize how much Meta has to offer. And one of my favorite metrics that I stumbled across is the thumb stop. Is, like, can we get people to stop, and then can we get them to further engage with the ads? So it's the 3-second play divided by impressions. So are we creating ads that are eye-catching and getting their attention, and then can we keep their engagement all the way through a click-through? So I think every offer, every campaign, you might have to rethink some of your strategies and the metrics that mean something to you. And like, this is just something I wish was defined for me. I had to do a lot of like digging and just watching videos to figure this out. My reporting is usually like the affiliate tracking software and our internal reports that we built, not really so much on the ad platform side. Usually our affiliates are watching those metrics, and we don't talk about it. I wish it was something that we talked about more.
So what are some of the metrics you're looking at in Facebook ads right now that help you optimize your campaign or campaigns?
The click costs is one. CPMs is another. Thumb stop is really the big one that we talk about a lot when we're testing new creatives. And that's also another thing I wish I knew beforehand. You really have to have a ton of different angles and creatives to test. obviously you'll find your winners and you'll keep those as your staples, but you have to constantly experiment and find new things. So having the right metrics and then also never ending experimentation with your creatives and your hooks. Like those are things that I'm pretty new to in this space. Usually it's like somebody else that handles that role, and now I get to see it firsthand, like how much work goes into this.
Yeah, especially when you start getting into video and image creation and then a bunch of headlines. I mean, AI has helped quite a bit. From your side on the lead gen model, where are you seeing like good results in terms of images versus video? Or are you seeing it more on the Facebook feed versus Instagram? Have you been looking into that kind of stuff in terms of metrics?
No, so from the reports I've looked at, it's mostly the Facebook feed. And we do a lot with video. The static images, we're helping a buddy get into affiliate marketing and through coaching. Like he started out doing static images, but he switched to video real fast. Like it's just
Yeah,
cheaper. Like that's what the social platforms want. They want
yeah.
engagement. They want attention. Images, um, we did a little bit with it, but not, it didn't last very long. We went right into video.
From my own experience in the last year, everything I'm doing on Facebook seems to be better with video. Even if it's an image that is like a quick flick, like a GIF almost, you know,
Yeah.
it just looks like, and I don't know, it just maybe it's because people stop and they see movement or whatever. You make like a facial movement or whatever it is. It seems to increase the performance a lot. So yeah, I guess that is something a lot of people don't know, like especially if you're getting started in media buying. You want to take the easy route and just go to AI and say, create me 50 images about solar panels and then
Yeah.
fire them up. But like it's not that easy. You really do need, you know, some type of tool that can make the videos for you.
We actually tried that too. We tried an AI tool. Jerry wrote some scripts. We even refined the script and kind of play with it with AI. We generated some videos with AI. They didn't perform. They just really didn't do that great.
I would be the one soul that out there that says that there's still more personal touch in making your own videos, finding your own content and doing UGC, and even finding videos out there that have had success and remaking them in a way that is obviously legal and compliant. The reality of the situation is, you know, as AI becomes more prolific, people have a resistance to it. So I think you actually get lower CPMs making UGC than you would with AI tools. I think people sniff that stuff out.
Yeah. We had this as number 6, by the way, on the list, not testing enough creatives. What I wanted to ask is, what do you guys use to make your videos? Do you hire out or do you use Canva or something like that?
Well,
We
there's
do a
this
bit.
awesome technology, Joey, called a cell phone.
Yeah,
We use
nice.
it. It has a forward and backwards camera, and you can do headphones to make the audio really good. Back in the day, you had to have shoulder mounted cameras to do the said content. Nowadays, it's much easier to just point a phone at yourself and make some content.
Nice. So
Uh,
am I going to see your mug on Facebook one of these days when I'm scrolling through if I
if
like,
if you're lucky, Joey, if you're
yeah,
lucky,
nice. Are you
yeah.
going to be
You
one of the ones
gotta.
that like just saved thousands on your power bill this year?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I can afford more cat food. I have a lot of cats, so you're gonna see that theme. I really try to
Nice.
tug at the user's heartstrings when I make ads and focus on animals
You know
because,
what? No,
you know,
let me just say something. That's funny because recently I tried something with the phone. Okay, the phone, and you just grab it in a little baggie. But anyway, so I took the phone and I just went on like a website and like went through the website and recorded. Like you just got to go here, you got to click here, and blah blah blah. Right? Like you walk
hmm
the user through the process, and they're just like, oh, okay, and then they just go and do it. Have you tried anything like that? You should if you haven't, because it
Oh,
actually works
oh yeah.
well.
So the
Yeah.
beauty of our site is you could be on your laptop or whatever and then just scroll over it and be like, oh, I saved X amount of dollars, you know, by going solar because a lot of those statistics and facts are out there on the internet. You can publicly search them, and then you use those statistics, record yourself. One of the things that we thought was interesting was like Chris owns a Tesla, so when we're going to visit him soon, in the next couple of days, we're going to film a couple of ads while we're at his house in his Tesla and use those as content, because it doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. It has to be engaging. So as long as you can engage the client, the thumbs up tool, like I mentioned, I mentioned this in the previous conversation we had, Joey. I'll mention it again. If you're not monitoring if people are looking at your ads, you definitely should be, because that's one of the only ways that you'll know if you're getting engagement, right? Without Facebook telling you this is your cost per mil, but there's an easier way.
That brings another thought about testing creatives and angles. If you have the luxury of doing like some of these videos, like Jerry, you're talking about a Tesla, right? But that's a well-known brand. It's probably going to resonate with an audience. There's brand recognition there, and we're going to leverage that. So if you have any leverage in your ads, that also can work really well in your creatives. So these are all things to think about, right? Like brand positioning, creative
Absolutely.
positioning, like just leverage anything you have access to. And not everybody has a Tesla, not everybody likes Tesla, but there's probably something in your life you can leverage that's related to whatever it is that you want to market.
And you might even have a friend that sells cars. You can go find a Tesla if you absolutely wanted to.
Yeah.
The beauty of being a media buyer is a lot of these guys that are doing this are just normal people. That's what I love about this industry. You just have to be creative. The reality is you don't have to be super special or have a ton of money. You just have to be a creative individual that's willing to take a risk.
Back on the brand recognition, I recently did a case study online for a website that I got from Flippa. Over the course of 6 months, the goal was to get it to $10,000 profit per month. And that's actually a playlist on the channel for anybody watching. If you want, I'll just put the link down in the description there. There's the plug.
Shameless
but anyway,
plugging.
on that case study, it came down, one of the big things was branding. And what we did was we did some social media SEO content, or like organic SEO, or sorry, organic social media. So YouTube videos, social media posts on TikTok, Twitter, or X, and Facebook and Instagram, but basically hired somebody to do it for like $200 a month. Basically, you just got to post something every day about our brand, right? And over the course of the 6 months, we found that people were now coming to Google and searching our brand, and we were getting a bunch of direct traffic to our website just through that, where people try and measure the metrics of your social channels. And, oh, I'm only getting this many clicks from social. But really, when you start to look at the amount of people now searching your brand and the people coming directly to your site, it is a result of this as well. So, and it's also a result of people seeing your ads on Facebook. So on that note, when you're running a lead generation or affiliate campaign or anything like that, and if you can create your own brand, like mysolarpros.com, right? And you guys are going to give me a domain that it's my brand and I can start running that, or whatever it is, creating that brand over time, we're going to start building, and it's the longevity of the campaign, using that to also improve your performance. But I think you made a good point there, Chris, when you talked about that, because it is extremely important over time, especially as you build more recognition.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things like managing a savings account, right? Like you just put into it, like you just produce content, you run ads, and if you're branding your ads and your content, you will see a correlation to that direct traffic, right? And
yeah,
I think to kind of back up Joey's point is, I mean, we do provide unique URLs. So whatever advertising you do, that customer, as long as you brand correctly, right? So it's not just helpful homeowner hacks, and you actually have a page that's dedicated to that user. If that user goes back and finds your page via word of mouth or repetition, maybe they did see that ad a bunch and didn't click on it, but it struck a chord and resonated, they could go back and sign up through that form. I mean, you would still get that lead attributed to you.
yeah, that's one unique thing, is the domains that we assign, all submissions are attributed to the affiliate or to the media buyer. Like we don't, it's
okay.
like that. I think that's one of the flaws of like traditional affiliate tracking, right? Is it sometimes those direct views or the Google search is going direct to the brand. The affiliate loses in that battle because it goes direct to the brand.
Yeah, exactly.
What,
Happens a
what,
lot.
what is it, Joey? First click versus last touch?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different models. And then there's like the cookie lifespan and how long before your cookie dies. All these things matter, right?
Well, not with us, buddy. We
Nice.
we we value you and your traffic, so we don't worry about you're going to get paid for your conversions every time, regardless. In fact, sometimes you'll get paid for conversions that happen because of your traffic. We have events that happen that if we can further monetize the traffic, we make sure people get attributed for it. It's just as media buyers ourselves, we understand you have to make money in every way possible, and we try to facilitate that with everybody we work with.
Nice. Well, that's good to know, Mr. Stacks.
Yeah, they don't call me Money Stacks for nothing. I made you, some money, maybe not all your money, but some of it.
Yeah, it was pretty
I'm
good,
proud of
man.
that.
Thanks for that. So we have one more thing here of the 7 things, and that is giving up too soon without understanding the data. Do you see that a lot?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of material out there that is like a quick rich or get rich quick, and you think that you're just going to start throwing money into a new ad or a new creative, but it takes time. Like if a new Facebook account, like you take your personal account, you've never ran ads before. Facebook is going to look at you and say, okay, we're going to limit your spend, which limits your potential, right? But until you have enough data and you really let these ad platforms optimize, and I don't think they're all out to get you. Like there's a lot of um, griping and complaining, like Facebook just bled my campaign dry. But I think it also does a lot of good too. It is trying to optimize for you and for the consumers on Facebook. Like I think it's a bit of both. But you have to let the machine do its job. You have to let it learn. You have to help it get more data, and you got to stick with it. Experiment with ads, stick with a budget for as long as you can until you can get profitable. Like you just can't give up too early.
I would
Yeah.
say don't ever trust Zuckerberg, just as a general rule of thumb. But the reality of the situation is like if your clicks are, if your cost per million is up there, you might only get like 12 clicks. If you have a not very good ad, and you might not see conversions, and you're like, well, I'm never going to make this work. Well, it's a very small sample size, so you have to build up enough of a sample size to see if it's the ad, if it's the platform, if it's the offer. Like, are you even getting clicks to the offer? Like, how far are people going down the offer funnel? Maybe the ads just aren't getting enough engagement before you just write off an entire vertical, such as home improvement, which we've spoken about this previously. It's a multi-billion dollar, multi-hundred-billion-dollar industry at this point. Like, there's people out there doing it. Maybe it's one of a million things that could affect conversion rates, but at the end of the day, you don't know that until you've actually invested enough time and effort to make it work. Like, I can't tell you how many media buyers have come close to cracking things, but they'll get to a point where they're like, oh man, I had a bad Saturday and Sunday compared to the week, and all of a sudden it doesn't pencil because you didn't get conversions for a couple of days. Well, you know, maybe there's more that you can look at there. Maybe you should, come up with times of the day that you trickle traffic through. Maybe, you approach your targeting on those. There's just so many variables. You have to be very methodical and A/B split test every single thing and not change too many variables at one time, and then give everything its time of day just to make sure that it's gonna, work out in the long run.
This is
And
what makes it so hard for people. Because, and what we do here on this channel is we try and set expectations. We're not trying to say this is all glory days, especially when it comes to being a media buyer. It's getting harder for people. There's no question about it. But at the same time, there's still tons of money to be made. But when it comes to testing, there's just so many different things that we have to test. starting from just the bidding strategy, well, actually, you could start just from what traffic source you're starting with. And then all of a sudden we get into bidding strategies. Which bidding strategy are we going to use here, right? Then we're getting into the ads, we're getting into landing pages, offers, audiences. And to think you're just going to go in and test with $1,000 and say, whoo, I'm going to make my decision after $1,000. You never even scratched the surface of what needs to be really thoroughly looked at when it comes to media buying. So just to set expectations out there, if anybody's watching this and thinks, lead gen is a gold mine, sure it is, but you need to actually understand how to properly test and do the things that are needed when you're doing ads on Facebook or Google. And that was kind of the intent of this video. And so would you say, like, I guess right now, am I making sense here with so many different things that, you really need a large budget to get started here and you need to understand this?
Well, I think you said it best when you said it is a gold mine, but you definitely have to do some prospecting, right? So let's go back to the gold rush, right? You had all these people that went to go do this task, and some of them got very, very wealthy. Some of them did not. But a lot of it is where you went, the processes you took, kind of the approach that you had to trying to strike it rich and make that gold. The reality is, like, without the right team, without the right product, without the right ads, and all that communication about the data in the back end, and figuring in the algorithm, that's what makes it more tough than it used to be, right? So you used to be able to just blast an email list, not worry about canned spam. Well, yeah, we got some conversions, we're profitable. But the reality of the situation is, with the responsibilities that people have now, with the legislation that's going on to make things more difficult for everybody, you have to really be focused in on honing in your tactics in your trade, and yes, acknowledging that you're going to lose some money. We spend thousands of dollars a day trying to find things that work, and yes, we're profitable, but at what scale? Like how much can we pour into this? How much can we lose at any specific time? You don't find gold without, I guess, the analogy here would be like breaking a few pans, getting your feet wet.
Well,
Uh,
it would be like you can't find gold without spending millions of dollars in equipment to go mining. Basically, you got to
exactly,
invest up front
exactly.
and find and mine. I always, sometimes, well, I don't always, but sometimes I compare media buying to mining because we're mining for data that gives us like the ability to now hone in on that data and make informed decisions that'll make us profitable. So
Mhm.
I'm going to kind of lead us to closing here, and you can maybe tell me how you guys can help in this sense. What is your intent here? Like, obviously, by you helping people, you make more money, but also they make more money and everybody wins, right? And that always comes down to, and one of the things, I guess, before I give you the floor, one of the things that a lot of people find challenging with getting into this space, especially lead gen, is getting the right relationships, because you can't just go into a net. I mean, some people can, but most of the time you can't just go into a standard network, any of the mainstream network, grab a lead gen offer and just start running it profitably. It's not going to happen. Well, if it does, you got lucky. So basically, you need relationships, you need data, you need things. So what is it that you guys are going to do, I guess?
I would say, what we have that those other places don't have is a Chris, right? The Chris, he built everything. He knows it inside and out, and he's always there to help solve problems that you might have. But dude, I've talked to so many people who thought that they would make money with a large network like ClickBank or any of these other places, and they just get an affiliate manager who gives them a link and tells them it's going to work and go for it. Like, very few of the people that they work with actually have a strategy and a plan and a reasoned approach. With Chris, with me, with Kenny, with Sasha, all of us on our team, we're here for you. We understand that you're a business person just like we are, and we strive for that success. Chris and I, we've been helping people from ground zero, right? It's just the people with tenacity who understand that it's a process. Like, we will build and grow. Like, Joey, I share opportunities with you all the time, man, because I know that as long as we're here to make a difference, to make some money and work together, there's a lot of opportunity here. If you're just gonna pull a link, you might as well just throw your money in a garbage can. Hell, you can give it to me. I'll spend it, for you, if that's what you're so inclined to do. But if you actually legitimately want to make money, you need to work with people who understand what you're doing, have a vested skin in the game, and know what they're fucking talking about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the reality of the situation. And if you
Honestly,
don't, you might as well just burn it.
yeah. And one thing I want to say about that is I know you've been sending me some opportunities, but for me, my time is just like completely whacked. Like I have so many other things on the go. However, that leads me to say I have a community of people at powerhouseaffiliate.com forum, and I welcome you to come in there and share your opportunities in there and also communicate with the people in the forum, because there's a lot of people in there that would take you up on some of these offers. Now, there is one offer that you spoke of last week that I am interested in. That's the water filtration, but I'll leave that for another video. But Chris, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, so the big thing, I echo everything Jerry is saying, but I also know that we're not for everybody, right? We are not an advertiser with offers that is meant for everybody. I totally get that. So, when you think about getting into this space, if you're media buying, you're running ads on Facebook, TikTok, Google, wherever, it doesn't really matter. If the offer works and it makes sense, you should do that. We deal with affiliates all the time that do solar home services. They run our offer and it doesn't work for them. And it's okay. Like we accept that. It's like maybe it's something with our landing page just does not work with your creatives. Or, there's a lot of things you have to think about, so many variables, every step of the way, you have to think about that. So today was, we really wanted to connect with your community, Joey, just to let them know, like, the people we do work with, we support them 120%. And the people that say it's not working, we are quick to say, we understand. Let's come back to this later when it makes more sense. Let's try to figure out a campaign together when we can. And we're always working on new offers and different landing pages. We're always trying to optimize.
Chris is waving his magic wand over there and making magic happen. That's what's really going on.
Yes. So for those who aren't aware, Chris, you're like the computer guy behind the scenes as well, like developing as well as helping with the data. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So my background is technical. I was a CTO before, VP of engineering at another company. I was a developer for many different companies. So I really get tech, right? And I've worked with a lot of marketing teams over the years. So I really also get that aspect. But until recently, I wasn't the one running ads.
Awesome. I think we gave some really good nuggets today. And do you guys have anything else you want to say before we wrap up today? Because
I'm gonna say great advice is, especially in Canada, don't eat yellow snow.
yeah, the time is coming. The time is coming. That's
No,
such an old joke, man. Come on, you can do better
yeah,
than that.
I was trying to. So you always at the end of it, you're like, if you have any hidden nuggets that you haven't shared already, and I'm like, what can I share that adds more value than we already added? And it always comes down to bad jokes. Like that's my go-to.
Thanks.
That or memes or gifs. And then I figure that's good advice,
Okay.
in
Well, you're
today's day
making the
and age.
blooper reel. You're making the blooper reel with that one.
Well, hopefully. People appreciate that content, man. They make entire advertising campaigns purely based on bloopers.
Anyway, well, thanks, guys. That was awesome. Thank you for joining me. I know you guys are busy. I know you guys are probably head deep in data right now, trying to get your media buys, to the 100 million mark just internally. That would be nice.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, appreciate it.
yeah,
Thanks for having us, Joey.
no problem.
Yeah.
Thanks as always. Yeah, and I'm still building up. I got targeting out my ears. I'm working
Nice.
on here. It'll be a good time.
And anyone watching, if you have any comments or questions or anything you want us to cover maybe in future videos, these guys are welcome back to the channel. If you have questions for them, or check the link in the description to sign up for Astrofuse. They have a ton of offers in the lead gen space, at least internal offers that they own that you can get access to. And I am still going to be waiting for that one offer you told me about last week that I'm really excited about. But anyway, yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Millions on Facebook. Today I'm getting blah, blah. Today I'm going to be joined. Today I'm going to millions, if not hundreds of. Let me do that again. But we're getting there.
Hundreds of millions, if not billions.
If not billions.
Just stick with hundreds of millions, Joe.
Astrofuse, who have also managed clients' accounts over hundreds of millions of dollars and have overseen.
Here,
Like, who's
Joey.
this guy? 2 media buyers from Astrofuse who are spending hundreds of
You're thinking about it too much, buddy.